The RX 5700 XT, released in Q2 of 2019, was the highest-end RDNA 1 card that AMD offered. Unlike the RTX equivalent, it does not have such a good video encoder built in for streaming, so if you're planning to do content creation, you should look at the RTX 3060 or RTX 3060 Ti. On release, the MSRP for this card was €399, but now you can find them easily for around 170 to 200 euros on sites like eBay and Facebook Marketplace. Being so cheap raises a question: should you go for the RX 5700 XT in the year 2022 or in the year 2023 that is just around the corner? I'm testing this card on a very mid-range gaming PC, using a CPU that is even a bit older than this GPU, the Ryzen 5 2600X, paired with 16GB of RAM at 3200 MHz. The CPU might create a small bottleneck in some CPU-heavy games like Minecraft, Valorant, CSGO, or in any real-time strategy game like Hotspire 4 or EU4. But it won't affect most games, many of them being shooters, but there is definitely a lot of variety, so every gamer should be satisfied with the game selection. Keep in mind that I am streaming on the CPU, so some titles may experience a slight bottleneck and you might get greater FPS numbers with your own 5700 XT. First off, we have Rocket League at 1440p on the highest settings. This game runs on every gaming PC made in the last 10 years. This reflects in our benchmarks as we got an average of 202.5 FPS, with the 1% lowest being in the 60 FPS range and the 0.1% lowest being in the 30 FPS range. The lows were probably like this because of loading screens, as stutter was not the problem I encountered. Moving on from silly football game, we're going to more demanding the FPS game, Warzone 2.0. This game just recently launched and is played by many. We tested it on balanced settings on 1080p. We got an average of 59.4 FPS with 1 and 0.1% lows being in the single digits. This game is heavier on the CPU than the first Warzone was, but I think the GPU could also be the culprit in the low FPS numbers. This title could probably be played on the basic graphics preset. This title, being new, could also mean it still needs some optimizations to be done. Next, we have Fortnite, the game everyone knows and either doesn't care about it or hates it. Haven't seen anyone love this game, to be honest. Even I am not loving it, as this game is poorly optimized. We tested this game multiple times and the best result came when played on 1080p, DX12 and medium view distance. Average FPS was 127 and 1% low was 18.7, and we are not even going to talk about the 0.1% lows. The game is really stuttery, and when it's not stuttery, mostly in buildings, it is around 200 FPS. A better CPU could also be the need too, but I don't think that's the case. Next up, we have Halo Infinite. The game was silky smooth for me and was really pleasant to play. I experienced no visual FPS drops myself. I tested it on 1080p medium settings and we got an average FPS of 87.8. The 1% and the 0.1% lows were 33.9 and 21.7 respectively. Going back to a shooter, we have Overwatch 2. Super fun game in my opinion. Like, who doesn't like to stomp on people as a giant gorilla? Tested this game on 1080p medium settings and they got at 130.8 FPS on average. Almost 60 FPS for the 1% lows and a miserable 40.4 FPS for the 0.1% lows. It was almost always at or near 144 FPS, but when spectating or being in the loading screen, it dropped a bit. This game could also be played on higher settings and still have an enjoyable experience, but for the sake of this video I wanted to have a 144 FPS gameplay. I played it off camera at 1440p and high settings and felt it was only a bit worse FPS wise. Lastly, we have Apex Legends, the game that will end the benchmarking section. I played on 1080p on the highest settings and got an average of 132.8 FPS, with the 1% low being 94.4 FPS and 0.1% low being an unsatisfactory 1.7 FPS. In conclusion, this GPU is still a beast in 1080p and select 1440p games. Being so affordable means a lot of gamers can afford to play in 1440p high refresh rate. Prices could also drop more following the RX 7000 launch because of people upgrading from their 5700 XT. I really recommend this card to anyone dipping their toes into 1440p gaming. I really hope you found this video useful in your GPU hunt. If you don't mind, like this video and subscribe, it really helps out. Peace.